So let's talk about friendships. I have been going through something of a growth spurt, and I'm finding myself dissatisfied with the status of many of my relationships. And I'm doing something about it. I have dragged my dad to therapy with me. I've resigned from my business, and I went to coffee at 6 a.m. with a neighbor. I think this is a symptom of a growth spurt because I have grown to the point where I cannot tolerate the dissonance that I was feeling in some of the relationships around me. So I've had to do something about it. Whereas last year, I may not have recognized this is something that you don't want, maybe do something about it. So it's a good thing. That's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about relationships and how we need to be paying attention to them, and how we need to be aware that the energy your relationships, the energy anything negative is taking away from you, is taking away the energy you have for pursuing your purpose and self-actualizing, which is what this channel is about. That's what I'm about. Self-actualizing. When we have these relationships or anything that are difficult, that require a lot of extra effort, that just make us feel bad or consume our mental space, that is directly taking away from the process of growing and thinking about yourself and working out your problems and listening to what it is that God is trying to tell you about what's next. So I'm going to go over some things that I think we need to be more aware of in relationships and that we need to try to avoid. And then I'll talk about what you should look for in relationships. I want to begin by talking about where I'm coming from. I noticed that I am playing out in many of my relationships basically trauma from my dad not playing the role I needed him to play in my formative years. It's so weird because for so long I kind of felt like my dad not being the dad that I wanted him to be was like a non-factor. It was something that I missed out on, but not something that exactly impacted me. I felt like me claiming to have a long-term impact from my dad not being present was kind of being melodramatic, I guess. That's how I viewed myself. But since I hit them 30s, I have learned so much about how our parent relationships truly do have an impact on our marriage and also on our other significant relationships. So apparently my plight is trying to get somebody to love me, which I have identified myself doing more so in my female-female relationships than my male-female relationships. I guess male-me relationships. So that's where I'm coming from. I think everybody wouldn't have these same problems, but I still think that I came up with a good list that is stuff we should look out for now. So I was seeing some memes and some conversations about when did you know your best friend wasn't really your friend, or she hated you the whole time. And I read the stories and I'm like, how are people in these relationships for so long? And it's because they had not grown past that, as I'm describing, and they weren't at a place where it was unacceptable to have people treating them like that. So they just were in these relationships, and then all of a sudden things fell apart and they're not friends. So I hope that we can be mindful and just avoid those friendships or step away from those friendships before somebody gets hurt. All right, so one of the first things I want you to pay attention to about how people make you feel when you're around them. This is friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, pretty much anybody you can have regular or significant contact with. Do they make you feel anxious? Do they make you feel unsure, uneasy. Of course, if somebody's dangerous, like, stay away from them. But do you feel like there's a lot of ambiguity in your relationship? You don't know what the terms are. You don't know where you stand. Does the other person constantly play the victim? They're constantly helpless, and that's where they get their energy, is from being the damsel in distress and being wronged and going off on people. Are they kind of lukewarm towards you? Like, they might spend time with you, but they don't actually show any emotion toward you. Are they mean? I remember watching a video of a video of Cardi getting her makeup done, and the makeup artist was like, Cardi was like being self-deprecating, and the makeup artist was co-signing. And of course, Cardi's being self-deprecating, so she wasn't taking offense to the makeup artist co-signing, but people in the comments were like, that you need to get her from around you because she is not for you. I can't remember exactly what she was saying, but I do remember the way it made me feel watching it, which was that this person really was kind of like condescending to Cardi and basically stating it, but Cardi wasn't aware. She wasn't looking out for that type of language. So you don't want somebody that's going to be mean to you, constantly cussing you out for play, making fun of you, making comments about things that are going on in your life. Nor do you want somebody that's mean to other people, because that can always come back on you. That's not good energy. It doesn't help you accomplish your goals of self-actualizing and being and moving forward in life in whatever respect that might be. Is the relationship complicated? I've had relationships where it's just like you got to knock 3 times and spit on your head and put a sock on your doorknob to, you know, be able to talk to them. Those are not relationships you need, because it takes too much energy that you can use doing something worthwhile. And there are actually friends who don't require you to do a bunch of bullshit to be friends with them. Are they self-involved and don't reciprocate? I can be self-involved because I get involved in everything. So if I've got something going on, I'm gonna want to talk about it, process it. But when you have something going on, I'm gonna want to talk about it, process it. There are people who can only talk about themselves and they have no interest in your life. They do not give you the same energy, and those people are not good for you. Everybody doesn't have the same strengths in terms of showing support or giving advice and stuff, but it's still, there's a difference with not having any wisdom to share and just not showing any interest. If they are not interested in you, they are not a friend that you need to have around. Along those same lines, is this person somebody that has a lot of negative things to say, or can talk about the negative events or negative aspects of your life, but they can't talk about the positive aspects? That's important, because people feed off of drama, negativity. Those people will only feed off of drama and negativity. It's called the pain body. And the pain body masquerades as the person, the self, but it is like an entity, and it survives off of causing pain and feeling pain. So those are some things we need to be avoiding in relationships. Like, do any of those ring a bell? Now, there are some reasons people act these ways that are likely not about you. They might suck. And if the person sucks, like, I don't want them to be my friend, but it's not about you. Maybe they do have some feelings towards you. Maybe they're jealous. I hear that a lot. I can't relate to feeling jealous of someone and like being mean to them. But I think when I feel jealous, I'm effusive. I also don't typically feel jealous because I'm not too prone to feeling entitled. Even if they have feelings of jealousy towards you or whatever it is, it's not about you, it's about them. So this whole high hater culture, you are almost being obsessed with them when their hatred, their jealousy is about them and their own thing. It's like you just represent their insecurity, but it's not actually about you. And maybe they're just a mess. Maybe you're having these feelings or you're having these experiences when you're with them because they're a mess, and you can't help that. People have to want to be helped. I'm a healer, so I tend to want to help people fix their mess when I see it, but that they can be very attached to their mess. So that could be a reason you're experiencing dissonance in that relationship. Lastly, you could have a dynamic that's off. So this is like the only one of this little list of 4 that I think is workable. Sometimes the relationship feels there's some dissonance because you have a dynamic that really doesn't serve where you guys are. Actually, I feel like I experienced this summer. I have a friend that I'm close to, but also I'm like still getting to know because we've been long distance for much of our friendship. And I feel like the dynamic was off, where she was superior, I was inferior, and I'm not inferior. But I kept coming to her and playing the same role, which I stopped identifying with. And I think she was still playing the role, which I no longer identified her with. And I think that was causing me some discomfort in the relationship. And we ended up, I don't want to say involuntarily because it was volunteered on one person's part, but we didn't talk for a month. And I think that really helped. I think that helped us reset. So I think a reset or even a discussion about, hey, I feel like in this relationship, this is what's happening, that could help. Or stop playing whatever role you're playing that's throwing things off, and then hopefully the other person will adjust. Sometimes they don't adjust because they're invested in you being in a particular role. In my case, with the whole situation with my dad, I often am in this role of like, I'm in the lack position. I'm the inferior one. I'm not as cool. I'm not as whatever. In some cases, I'm not as successful. Even though I have so many other things going for me, the other person becomes invested in having that over me. So then when I begin to transcend in any of those areas, they don't know how to take it. They don't like it. And sometimes they'll try to hold me back. And that's important to be aware of too. Okay, so talked about friendships you don't need, why some of these friendships might feel bad. I want to also take the time to talk about friendships that you should seek out. So I said that I had coffee with a neighbor down the street. I feel like every time I see her, it's a positive interaction. I like who she is as a person. So I invited her to go have coffee because I want to spend time with people that make me feel good, even though it's not necessarily about me. Like, I like being around good people. I like talking to good people, even like at a grocery store. So I wanted to spend time with her instead of spending time with people that cause me stress, even though they might be people I have more in common with. So I think we need to focus on investing more in these relationships, whereas a lot of times it's like you see the toxic relationship you might have had, your best friend. I have been in this position, and you're like, how do I distance myself? But I feel like a better question is, how do I redistribute myself? Or how do I strike a new balance? And I think it's by pursuing and investing in better relationships. I think it makes it easier to disassociate from the toxic relationship because you are creating more of a case for what kinds of relationships you should be in, as opposed to when you are just walking away from a relationship and might be feeling a sense of loss. There's always grief when you end a relationship. So maybe having like a rebound will lessen that sense and help you walk away faster. I will stop and talk about a relationship I had from college up to 2020. So over 10 years, we were close friends. I think that she probably had a lot of these, I probably had a lot of these negative experiences I talked about in the first list with her. And I just kind of accepted it because I was so desperate to have friends. I've always had a difficult time making friends. And honestly, a lot of it's probably like wanting it too badly. And then also having dissociative disorder with my emotions, which I've improved on a lot, but making it difficult to connect with people, wanting it too bad, and then probably like making it weird or whatever. And also, I'm a deep person. Everybody is not interested in that all the time. And I completely understand that now. But I maintained her as a friend because I'm like, okay, this person is being a friend to me, but at the same time, this person causes arguments, not just with me, but with everybody. This person does not offer me emotional support. This person does not talk about my strengths. This person does not treat me the way I want to be treated when I'm in their presence. I don't want to spend time with this person. I feel anxious about spending time with this person. I been outgrew the relationship, but I didn't walk away, and what ended up happening was this huge, it wasn't even really a fight, but this huge falling out that I was mourning for several months. Like, I really had to do a lot of work to understand and get over it, when at the end of the day, most people just said she was jealous. I can't say somebody's jealous, but I know that the conflict we ended up having was not about the conflict. Like, it wasn't about what she said it was about. I think it was about her feelings toward me. And had I been stronger, I could have just ended the relationship and we could have avoided a lot of hurt. But instead, I kept going through the motions and I got hurt. To be honest, the first time I questioned our relationship was my wedding. I got married very quickly because my husband was in the military at the time. So we had been dating prior to that, but my wedding season, all that was really quick. And her first comment when I told her that I was gonna get married in 3 weeks was, well, if it's this month, I'm not coming. And then I think back to, well, there was a lot of things that happened during that wedding time. And I did ask her about it. I said, were you not happy that I was getting married? And she was like, no, blah, blah, blah. And she just kind of dismissed it. Then I think back to when I told her I was pregnant. I didn't want to tell her, but I had to because we were going to like a margarita party. So I had to say something. And then I slept like the whole party with this other woman who was at the end of her pregnancy. I didn't sleep with the woman. We were at the same time sleeping. But I didn't want to tell her, and I felt awkward about it, and she responded in an awkward way. Those are things I didn't know I needed to be looking out for, but I wish I had been aware. Like, if you feel like this in your relationship, you don't have a good relationship. It's not just a growing pain. Like, you don't have a good relationship and you need to begin to distance yourself from the relationship. But you know, you get so invested. There were other things that happened that made me feel like, just constantly making me feel like I'm wanting more in the relationship, and only to lead to its demise in 2020. Now, I also have this issue where I constantly I feel like I have to do all this work to get people to love me. And I recognize this most obviously last year when my friends thought she had COVID. So I volunteered to bring her some supplies. I spent my own money, drive all the way across town with my little one to give her stuff. And it's just like, thanks. You know, I recognize, I don't know if I recognize before or after, but I recognize I am doing all this to try to get her to love me, and I need to stop. Because if somebody makes you work for it, then they're not going to give it to you. And nor is it something that you want. You know, you want reciprocity in relationships. And if you are feeling like you have to do all this extra work to get the bare minimum, just like equality, then that's not really a relationship you want. So I've had plenty of relationships that were not in my best interest, and I think a lot of us have. We talked enough about that. I would like to give you some things that I feel like we should look for in relationships, because maybe that's the problem. Maybe my standards were too low because I didn't have a good frame of reference. Okay, so you need to have friends that are supportive. Okay, I have two friends. One is supportive, one is not supportive. This one, regardless of what I do, she's there, she's saying good job, good luck, she's asking questions. She doesn't exactly give me information or feedback or ideas, but she's always there, and I don't feel judged or anything when I reach out to her. And then I have this friend, regardless of what I do, what kind of success I have, she either has something critical to say or she has nothing to say at all. And these are both good friends. They both have college degrees. You know, they both are smart and have a lot of potential. Without this friend, it might be hard to realize that this friend is like just not really what I want. Your friends should be supportive. This friend makes me feel silly. Like, she doesn't respect my entrepreneurship, whereas this friend is a corporate executive. I think she's like a director at this point. Same age as me, makes a ton of money. She has no problem validating me, and this person can't. So I just wanted to give that comparison. Be supportive, be there for your friends, and expect your friends to be there for you. You want friends that encourage you, friends that talk about your strengths, want you to do better, want you to achieve your goals, care about your goals, and not friends that are completely turned off when you're talking about what you want. I mean, sometimes you don't want the same thing, so they don't exactly care, but you want to look for friends that encourage you, friends that show interest. You also want friends that are honest, not just honest with you, but honest with themselves, because, well, any negative trait that somebody displays toward somebody else, they have the capacity to display it toward you. So it should matter. You also want friends that are accountable, friends that will say sorry. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, well, I've had plenty of relationships where people don't say sorry. Maybe that's not a good rule. No, it is a good rule. Those are not people you should have relationships with. If they're unwilling to say sorry, they're not people you should have around you. You want people who are willing to say sorry, people who take ownership for their own lives, people who are trying to be better and are aware of their weaknesses. Those are good character traits in your friends. You want friends that are looking out for you and looking out for what's best for you. Now, this is something that occurred to me recently, and I've thought a lot about it. I went to my college roommate's bachelorette party last month, and we're at a winery, and she goes, give me your phone. This lighting is perfect for you. I had already established, but I don't know that it happened to me, but I feel like a friend who takes a picture of you, who like gets your best shot, that's a real friend. And I am not super connected to her, because any friend that I have that went to nursing school, I like lost contact with them because it's so like, you know, consuming. But that really means a lot to me, that she wanted to capture me at my best. Those are the people you want around you. People who will capture you at your best, who want to see you at your best, who want you to see you at your best, right? I'm like, when can we have breakfast? You know, like that really meant a lot to me. And I think that's something very practical that you can think about. On the other hand, I have friends, we can do a trip together and she never takes a picture with me, you know, certainly not post a picture with me. So I think that that's a pretty good distinction to make and something to look out for. You want people who want to see you at your best and who also want to be with you at your best. And I also think you should have friends that care about your life. I had a friend from childhood. We would talk on the phone and we kept in touch after he moved away. He would always tell me about his life. And I just listened, because I used to feel like, okay, well, if I have to get onto them about being interested, then they don't care. So I don't really want to make somebody care about me. If you feel like they don't care about you, they're not your friend. Don't be friends with them. But I used to listen to him for hours, and he would never ask about me, and he also wouldn't really listen when I was talking about myself. Well, once I got pregnant, I talked to him, I think I was like 7 months. I was like, hey, I'm pregnant, because I hadn't heard from him. And he was like, yeah, I know. Didn't say congratulations. Didn't say congratulations whenever it was he had found out. And that was the last time I spoke to him, because it finally occurred to me, he's not for me. He's not here to celebrate my life moments. He's here for me to listen to him. And I have no use for that right now. I hope that conversation is helpful. I just feel like in my life right now, I don't have the energy to give to thinking about what do they feel? Why do I feel like this? What's going on with them? How do they feel about me? No, I'm not doing it. I need friends that are willing to say what they need to say, give me feedback, friends that are willing to do the work so that they can get over what their problems are. I'm not doing all this extra stuff when there are perfectly good friends out there who don't require so much assembly, you know. I met somebody at my mom's church. I didn't meet her, but you know, I haven't been to my mom's church in a while back home, and I enjoyed talking to her. So I messaged her on Facebook saying, I always enjoy talking to you. We should get to know each other better. She doesn't live around me, but hey, at this point, good vibes only, right? Like, I am interested in connecting with people who make me feel good, near or far. Connect with people who make you feel good, near or far. Disconnect from people who don't make you feel good. That's it. That's the video. That's the whole concept. And I hope you really take my words to heart, and I hope you make some changes. Again, it starts to become unacceptable when you are growing. So don't be like, well, you know, it's been like this for so long. You know, it is what it is. No, you're a different person. You've grown and you've outgrown this relationship. Move on. Talk to you next time.